What's up, summoners? King Blair here. With another arena season in full swing, we have access to an item that we are able to buy each of the seasons, and that is going to be the Unknown Slate. Now, this is an item that either gets misused very often, it either gets wasted, or for some people, they even just forget to get it. So what we're going to be talking about today is why the Unknown Slate is so good and important, and why you should be getting it every season, as well as recommendations for who should you actually be using it on, so that you can make the best decisions on your account. So if you like the video, make sure you like, subscribe, and join the Discord server, link down in the description. Without further ado, let's get right into it. So the video will roll out, and I will put different timestamps so you can skip around the video depending on what you want to hear about. But first, we're going to talk about what it does. You know, the bare basics. Why is it good, right? Why do you want to get it every season? And how do you actually use it for the people that are new and may not actually know how to do that? Then the next part we're going to do is general recommendations. This is probably going to be the most important part of the video because we'll cover what are the things that you have to consider before you actually use it. Then we'll actually talk about more specifics on the actual units. And ultimately, I'll give you some examples of some units that this slates usually are pretty good for. So with that, let's get right into it, starting with how do you use it, right? And what does it do, right? What this essentially does is it acts as a duplicate copy of any unit of your choice. So what does that mean? For example, let's look at my Charlotte. If I was to get a duplicate Charlotte, or on the other hand, a duplicate light Charlotte, I would be able to give her to her as a memory imprint and would be able to get access to her imprint release and her imprint concentration if I buy the ego fragment from the Transit Stone shop, right? So I get access to pretty nice little stat boost, right? And while it may not seem like a lot, you know, if you were able to get very high imprint concentration, you can get up to 18%. That's equivalent to 3 sub rolls, or about 2 to 3 sub rolls on your gear, which is quite a lot, right? On a stat on a unit, right? And the way you would do that is, of course, you go to the memory imprint, you click it right there, and you get access to that little imprint that you see there, right? So you can do that with any hero, and different heroes have different imprint releases and imprint concentrations. That is going to be important in actually deciding what unit you're actually going to give this to, because again, having those different levels, it's going to be a big deal, as well as actually what level you're actually getting the unit is another thing you have to consider. So now that you know what it does, it essentially acts as an extra duplicate copy, right? You don't have to actually get a duplicate copy of a unit to actually be able to release their imprints. What are some recommendations, general recommendations for how to actually use it? Well, I'm gonna break this section into 2 parts. First, general recommendations, and then we're gonna talk about more specific, more nitpicky, if you really wanna be like an optimizer, recommendations, so you get a better idea on what you can do, right? So first, general recommendations for who should you be giving these slates to. Well, as you know, it acts as a duplicate copy, and typically you're getting a stat boost that could help you win the fight. Generally, you're going to want to give this to DPS units that have access to an imprint release that's attack or crit rate. Now, there's a big reason why I'm saying that and why I'm telling you not to focus on this imprint release, but rather the imprint concentration your DPS is. At the end of the day, Epic 7 is a game that for you to win the game, you have to be doing damage, right? You have to kill your enemy in order for you to win the game. And if your DPS gets access to more attack, that means they're going to be doing the job better. And a lot of the times, Epic 7 does reward you for having teams with supports and having a DPS that actually does a lot of the damage, you know, protect the castle team type of composition, or even cleave team type compositions where you do a lot of damage. So generally, you want to give it to DPS units that have access to attack and crit rate, right? So for example, Charlotte does have access to attack. She's a DPS unit. She's a pretty good person to give it to. On the other hand, someone like Expected Tenebria, again, a really solid option to actually give it to her, because again, if you get that attack, you're doing more damage with her, you're going to be winning more, and you're going to be doing better. On the other hand, the best one to actually give it to would be units that have crit rate, as units like Rylet, right? Because as we'll talk about in a second, crit rate is going to give you the most bang for your buck, because here an imprint release of 5.6% crit, right? That doesn't sound like that much, but 5% crit is a whole max roll on your gear, whereas something like an attack percentage on your gear, 6%, is less than a full roll. So you're getting more value from the crit rate imprint that you actually would from getting an attack imprint. So overall, again, crit rate imprints are going to be the best ones to actually do. on a DPS unit because you get the most out of it. Again, someone like Rylet really needs it because that will push them to the next level. You're getting so much stats out of this that it's just like insanely good and insanely ridiculous, where you can push them to the next level. And there's a lot of units that are like this. Units like the new Emo Celine would be a good candidate for the slate, and units like Closer Charles. That's going to bring us to the second part, and that is going to be a PvP unit that you use a lot. That's another thing you really have to consider, because at the end of the day, this is something that you want to last for a long time, right? Learn from my mistakes. For example, I did the first part right? I picked a unit that was a DPS hero that had crit rate, or had attack, or had crit rate, yeah. It was Viking, and I wasted a lot of slates. So this second part is really important, and it is to pick a DPS unit for PvP that you're going to be using. Just because they have crit rate doesn't mean you should be giving to them. So for me, I wasted like 3 slates on my Viking, right? That was a massive waste for me, because even though, yeah, I matched the first category, well, I don't really use her, right? So those slates were absolutely wasted. So make sure you are looking at a tier list. You're looking at what you're actually playing, so you can pick units that are going to last a long time. That we're going to cover more later on for the actual examples, but kind of just to go off so you can get more in the line of thought. Someone like Violet, right? I know Violet's probably going to be meta for a pretty good time, right? So giving a slate to him, even though he doesn't have a crit rate and I'm not getting the most mileage out of him, I know I use him a lot. I know I want that attack on him. I know he's going to be relevant for a long time. Another really good one is going to be someone like Spectre Tenebria, who again, I'm going to be using a lot. She's been meta for a long time. Really solid option. The reason why I'm not telling you to look at PvE units like Baiken is mainly going to be because PvE is a game mode that is solved. You can clear all PvE without the extra added benefits of imprint. So do not imprint slate PvE heroes. Only PvP should you be focusing on your slating. So again, just to summarize, give it to units, particularly DPS units with attack, and look at the imprint release. Make sure that's going to be attack percentage or crit rate percentage. A DPS type hero that you're going to use PvP, that's actually going to be meta for some time. That is the best way to use the general slates for the most value, right? Because at the end of the day, when you look at a unit like Crawl, while getting an imprint on Crawl is going to be really nice, you know, if you're able to get an imprint, it is nice. But a slate is something that you get to choose to elevate a character to the next level, and that extra 6% on Crawl is not going to make as big of an impact as someone like a Spectre Tenebria doing an extra 6% attack, right? So again, DPS heroes that you're going to use for PvP for a very long time. That's going to be the basics for the slating. Now let's get to more of the complicated aspects of slating if you're trying to maximize your account to the next level. And that is going to be getting first imprints over second imprints. So this is going to be if you are just an insane, like you really just want to be optimizing. Let's say you use a lot of units. I personally should be using my slate on someone like Violet, right? Why is that the case? Well, the big reason is going to be that for Violet, right now I don't have any imprints on him. Ignore the fact that I have an extra Violet there, but I right now don't have any imprints on him. I know he's a meta unit. I know he's a DPS hero. You know, we got those checks. I could use this slate on him, and it would be probably more beneficial for my account. Why? Versus using on someone like my Spectre Tenebria, who I already use, right? Like my Spectre Tenebria already has A. Why should I be using it on a unit like Violet? Well, if I get my Spectre Tenebria this late, she would be able to get an extra 3% attack, which is going to be nice, right? It is going to be pretty nice. But if you're trying to optimize your account, it makes more sense to put it on Violet, because if I give him that imprint release, he's getting an extra 6% attack, right? So it's a little bit more of a complicated topic to actually start thinking about if you're trying to just optimize stats to the next level. The other optimize stats to the next level type of situation is if you have a unit that you use all the time, that you think is going to be meta for a long time, that you want to slate that has a crit rate. So for me, that is going to be Violet. The reason why, there's another one that it's a really good one. Even though he's here at S rank, I'm not getting as much out of my imprint as I would if I gave it to someone that was at 0. But the thing about it is right now, I'm not at 100% crit rate. And units like this that rely on the imprint, and this is going to particularly matter for crit rate, imprint release, or imprint concentration type units. If you need that slate to get the unit to be maxed out for their build, they're also a very good candidate to actually put the slate, because you're optimizing your build at that point. You're getting to the next level for your unit. So me personally, I actually was going to use my slate on Rylet because I use Rylet a lot. I think he's a good meta unit. I think he's going to be around for a long time, and I have used him for a long time. So I would give him the slate. The only thing is I do have the dupe copy, so I'm not going to be giving it to him. But from a maximizing standpoint, he would be an extremely, extremely, extremely good candidate to actually give my slate to in a more advanced optimized setting because I'm able to finalize a build for him. So it's going to be more of like the optimization if you're really, really picky. At the end of the day, you don't have to do this. Again, you don't have to do this. You can just give it to a DPS hero, or you can just give it to a hero that you like for the first imprint. But again, typically DPS heroes. So someone like Ravi, I probably wouldn't give it to them, even though I use her a lot, because it's just defense. It's not going to make that big of a difference for the defense versus if it was attack percent imprint. So that's why someone like Stenet would be better. So now, some other considerations for actually picking, and this is something more, again, for optimization. If you just care about making your account better, limited units are going to be another slot that is going to be really, really good for more advanced optimization, imprint releasing. Why? Because they're limited, right? Imprint releases act as a duplicate copy of a slate, and heroes that are limited don't come except maybe once a year, right? Especially things like Rimuru and Milim. They're not going to be back here for at least another year, right? So an imprint actually let you get access to these and lets you actually elevate that unit to the next level. So for me, assuming that my Landy didn't have this imprint, I would give her the slate because I use Landy a lot. She's not going to come back for a long time. I can't pull for copies of her. A slate would actually be extremely, extremely good in this situation because I would be able to get her to the next level if I hadn't opened it already, right? A massive 6% boost. So for example, if I was using Milim a lot, I would actually slate her, right? Because right now she doesn't have a slate. I could give it to her and she could get that extra imprint and get a bunch of extra attack, right? So limited units, another really good candidate because you can't naturally pull for copies of them, whereas all the other heroes in this game, you can pull copies of. And it goes without saying, don't give it to units like Belian. Belian, you can buy the imprints in the shop, right? You can buy these in the shop for her. Same with Strasse. Same with our team and Mercedes. Don't buy it for them. Don't use it for them. But yeah, that's going to be the general recommendation. So now let's actually look at some units that are really, really good candidates for actually giving your slates to. The big one is going to be none other than Spectre Tenebria. This unit has been around for a very, very long time. She has proven to be one of the best units in the game. She's good for almost all content in this game. Guild Wars, Arena, RTA. She's a DPS hero, and those extra stats do make a massive difference in her damage. If you have a Spectre Tenebria, she is a really, really good candidate to actually give these imprints to, because again, you're able to get that imprint and it's going to be amazing. It's going to help you so much, and you're going to be doing so much more damage with your Spectre Tenebria if you do give her an imprint. And again, a lot of people will actually have this unit imprinted. Another one that is really, really good is going to be Landy. She's actually one of the ones I would highly recommend. Even though her meta, she's not as meta as she's used to be, she's still a tremendous force in Guild Wars, in Arena, and she's still going to see play in RTA, even though Milim does exist. So giving it to Landy, again, I know it's not crit rate percentage, but it's attack. If you don't have her imprinted, she's a limited unit. She's a perfect candidate to actually give your slate to because you're able to get that attack percentage. She's a meta unit that's going to last a long time, and she's limited, so you can't just pull for copies of her unless you're waiting until her next release, which can be a long time from now, and things are going to be changing quite rapidly. Sorry about that. Another really good unit, but not as good, is going to be someone like Rylot. This one is more of the optimizing, and he's kind of a whale unit, which is why I don't recommend it, unless you really, really like Rylot, like myself. He's not a bad candidate. Why? He has a crit rate release. Again, really, really good. These are more for like secondary recommendations for heroes that you like a lot and actually use. Again, crit rate percentage is amazing to get. Closer Charles, another really good unit that he's amazing high level, but requires extremely good gear. And if you actually slate him and you have a place for him to use, he's another really good candidate, again, because crit rate will make him so much easier to build. You get so much out of it, and you're going to be able to make him way, way stronger. And again, Spirit Eye Celine, any crit rate hero that you think you're going to be using is not a bad one. But again, Stenet, Landy, two of the really big ones that I highly, highly suggest you actually use your imprints for. Rylot, Celine, Closer Charles, those are just if you want to. Any limited unit is a good one. Well, not any, let me take that back. Not every limited unit, But things like Milim, if you're using her a lot, or Rimuru if you're using her a lot. Rimuru is another really good one because he's likely going to be meta for a very, very long time, and having that extra attack definitely does help him a lot. So again, Rimuru, another really good one. Again, he's limited, he does damage, he's a DPS. If I had to rank them, I would say Spectre Tenebria is a really good option. Landy's a really good option. Rimuru's a really good option. And then I would maybe put in that category of really, really good options, someone like, what's his name? Man, Arbiter Vildred, still not a bad one, right? He's a DPS hero. You use him a lot for PvE. He does have access. He does have a decent PvP transitioning, although he's not as popular right now. Again, not another bad option. You can definitely give it to him, especially if it's the first one. And then, of course, the more specific ones. This is to you: Ramram Violet, Celine, Closer Charles. I get that crit rate imprint. That is really, really good. But that is going to be it for my recommendations for your imprint releases. I hope this helps you guys. At the end of the day, use it on the unit that you like a lot. You know, if you love your unit and you love your favorite waifu and you want to give it to them, go ahead. You may hate yourself a little bit later on if you do decide to get competitive. You're like, man, I wish I had that slate. I definitely think of that every time I use my Violet. I'm like, man, I should have imprinted my Violet over my stupid Viking. At the end of the day, though, even if you don't have a unit, you also have one more option, and that is going to be to save it. And I didn't actually say this until now, until the conclusion, because you don't have to use it right now. Well, it does help advance your account at the time. If you're just someone that, you know, you haven't clicked with a unit, or you want to wait until the actual RTA season starts where more units are meta, by all means, just save it, right? It's not going away. And a lot of people do actually do this, and I would recommend this if you don't have any of the units I mentioned and you don't know what to do. Highly, highly encourage you to just save it for a unit that's going to be meta once the RTA season actually starts. It's okay, right? It's okay to save them. They're not going away. Don't just waste them. Just save them. If you don't have any other units, you don't have any imprints, and you just want to, you know, wait until the next really cool unit comes out. Maybe the next Violet comes out, the new RTA season. You'll be ready to give them like 2-3 slates, depending how long it takes for the next RTA season. But that's going to be all I got for you guys today. Good luck with everything, and I will see you next time. Peace.